My name is Christy Howes, and I am the Communications Advisor on the Blueprints for Gender Equality project. Today we're having a follow-up community engagement session. It's a follow-up session from a session that we held in October, and we're looking at the draft national strategy for gender, the policy and the strategy, and asking for recommendations from and suggestions and comments from stakeholders, those being civil society organizations and our gender focal points within the ministries.
So as much as possible, try to go into this session recognizing that everybody's opinion matters. Okay? There's no right or wrong to this.
Janie Joseph, Director Gender Affairs. So this is the second stakeholder engagement session planned under the Blueprints for Gender Equality project, which is being implemented by CUSO International and funded by Global Affairs Canada. We've taken the opportunity that particular project affords us to revisit a document that we're working on right now, which is the National Gender Equality Policy Statement and Strategy. And we're getting stakeholders to weigh in on some of the concerns that they would have identified in the October 24th of last year, 2023 stakeholder engagement session. So we looked at the comments made from that last stakeholder engagement session. We incorporated some of it into the work that's currently undergoing with the strategy and policy statement, and we have come back to them now for further insight, for further recommendations, and for further suggestions beyond what they gave in the October 24th engagement, for this particular one to shape a new version or an updated draft of the Gender Equality Policy Statement and Strategy.
Catherine Silis, Raise Your Voice, Saint Lucia. Saint Lucia has been working towards a national gender strategy for quite some time. I remember this was talked about from the time of Miss Cham's Gospel. And we want to recognize that Canada is always in support of Saint Lucia and its social priorities and has funded this forum. We are here today and we are hoping that we can get a step closer to this goal, because it's high time. We in Saint Lucia have a rich history of colonialism, so we tend to think that rights are not for everybody. But we believe if we have a gender strategy, then we can begin to look at issues across the board and to begin to better support women and men, boys and girls, and we can also begin to shed some of the stigma and discrimination we have around the LGBTQI community. We must remember that Great Britain repealed all those laws 40 to 50 years ago, but we as former colonies are still holding on to very damaging social norms that creates a lot of stigmatization, exclusion for particular members of the community, and we're hoping that through this exercise we can begin to achieve some of those goals.
That was output 1.4.1, so put that so we are specific. Oh, I thought it was all right. So output 1.4.1. So now
speak to your society now. Don't speak to me like a
man.
Speak to your fellow citizens.
You could be in your own thing once you don't affect me, and I. But that's not what society.
So we speaking specifically now to
living document, because you have to get out of there.
Human resource.
To be able to
human resource.
Right.
So adequate human resource to ensure.
Not only, but if the powers that be make it a priority document, like so many policies all have.
And the aim of this session is to have stakeholders to interrogate and review the Department of Gender Affairs draft gender equality policy and strategy, and the information gathered from this would actually inform on the implementation of more gender sensitive and gender responsive policies and programs. But stakeholders are from a range of agencies and entities. We have persons from the public service, so stakeholders from the public service, as well as gender focal points. And the gender focal points are persons who are appointed through cabinet memo to work on promoting gender within the respective agencies within government. There's also NGO representation as well.
We're looking at those comments that were provided to us from stakeholders and discussing them and seeing either how they have already been addressed within the current draft strategy, or if we need to somehow weave them in and incorporate them. So that's a large part of what we're doing here today. And this morning we just reviewed the comments that were provided from the 4 different groups and shared those. And then this afternoon we'll be doing more of a hands-on work session.
So our task was, first of all, to answer the question in terms of data and decision making. Is the theory of change statement and the outputs related to data in the 3 strategic priority areas? So really the theory of change was written there. We thought that really there was no change necessary. It was very wordy, and I think it really met what they were trying to explain. And so we thought that it really encompassed everything. Now, one of the things we noticed with this document is the second part of the document highlighted private sector and NGOs a lot, but the first part didn't. When you talk about capacity building and all those things, for example, 1.4 spoke about we believe that the NGOs should be involved in terms of the capacity building when it comes to data management and structures and improving the structure. It speaks about NGO in the M, but not in terms of capacity building in the other aspects.
So we were charged with reviewing the objectives included in the draft national policy statement, and we were asked, should the objectives be strengthened to include the civil society organizations and the private sector? And we affirmed, yes, we think that they need to be included. And our rationale was because we understand the limitations of the resources within the department or in public service in general. And so there's a wider pool of resources available in civil society that we could draw on. Not just a wider pool, but a pool of expertise that can really speak directly to the issues that require address, or perhaps putting in other types of resources, financial, etc.
What are the intermediate outcomes and outputs can be included for men and boys in the strategy? And we came up with that we should engage the men and the boys at the consultation level, not only on a needs basis, and this should be done separate from women to allow a safe space. Education and change of current biases, example, child support, violation towards men, stereotyping, and be more inclusive.
Is stakeholder engagement featured adequately in the policy statement, in the guiding principle of partnership? And we all agreed that it was not adequately featured, as we indicated that it was too broad. It needs some more specificity, particularly for the non-governmental aspect of it, to include the specific groups or associations that need to be involved. We indicated that the statement needs to be broken down. It's too broad, it's very wordy, it's like a mouthful, and kind of makes the statement very ambiguous, so it needs to be broken down.
It refers to strengthening institutional mechanisms for and take concrete actions to institute and sustain effective communication and education for widespread attitudinal and behavior change for gender equality outcomes in public and private domains.
So
our team felt that yes, we should definitely include objective A in the conversation. The gender sensitivity education should begin in schools, especially the curriculum on health and family life and education for democratic cities. Okay, so that was the first question.
What are some of the intermediate outcomes and outputs that can be included to address this concern in strategy priority 3? Our answer in group says yes, the strategy priority 3 should be reframed to make reference to poverty alleviation, yes, and related issues such as time use, unpaid care, and domestic work. And one of the outputs we are suggesting is an increase in the number of empowered women, increasing the amount of money focused on empowered women, and of course increasing the amount of money allocated to women that are subject to that same thing I just mentioned: unpaid care, domestic work.
And the intermediate outcomes and outputs in the strategic plan on strategic priority 1, ending gender-based violence, Annex 1, sufficiently clear and well defined. And the group found that yes, it was, and it was clearly defined. The second question was, should the strategic priority use the language of the CARICOM gender equality strategy? And the wording was freedom from violence instead of ending gender-based violence. And our group felt that we should use the language of the CARICOM gender equality strategy, which says freedom from violence.
Okay, the Blueprints for Gender Equality project is a project which is executed through CUSO International, which is an international NGO from Canada. And through this project, we have volunteers from Canada who are assisting the Department of Gender Affairs in executing their gender equality policy and assisting us in terms of our deficiencies, the gaps that we notice in terms of the capacity within the department. So currently we have a communications and engagement advisor, and there's also an M&E specialist who serve as volunteers under the CUSO project.
CUSO International has really supported the development of the Department of Gender Affairs, just generally in terms of internal staff, but also in developing capacity among the gender focal points. Also, through the engagement and communication specialists, we've had the opportunity to bring in CSOs as well as gender focal points in discussions around priority areas and all of that. The persons who have been attached to us, the volunteers who have been attached to us, have been remarkably helpful. Not just in terms of the areas of expertise, but generally in terms of just supporting staff and supporting us in determining what our priorities are, how best we can deal with those things, going even a step beyond just the actual project, supporting other initiatives in keeping with their own areas of expertise in other project areas. So we are very, very happy with the work that they've done and how they've supported the department.
Thank you for your attentiveness and your active participation. Our DPS, who was there, Ms. Sheila Imbert, Gender Affairs, who stressed the need for partnerships and collaboration between the Department of Gender and its local, regional, international stakeholders. And Christy House, the Communications and Engagement Advisor, my Lucian Canadian at this point. Thank you for the hard work you put in actually organizing this event. I appreciate you, we appreciate you, your hard work, your commitment, and of course your professionalism. And I know for sure Christy has a couple of weeks here and I will so miss my friend. So thank you very much. Ms. Jenny Joseph, the Director of Gender Affairs, for the engaging sessions, which we know will inform policies and programs of gender equality and equity throughout the government service and the general public. The staff of the Department of Gender Affairs, Liana Leo, Beverly, who's also a volunteer with CUSO, but she's a part of the staff, for delivering our opening prayers this morning. Special mention to Hansis, she's not there with us right now. And our assigned photographer, Felicia Louis, who did only one photograph for us, but thank you. Thank you to the other Crusoe International team, Nixon Barry, and the In-Country Project Support Office, and our rapporteur, who's at the back. And a super big thank you to you, the invitees, the participants, for your active participation. Your input is invaluable to the success of policy and programming developed by the Department of Gender Affairs. And your role is also to ensure that we as a department are accountable to you, the stakeholders. I believe that through continued participation and collaboration, we can realize a gender equal and socially inclusive society. I wanted to tell you about our new logo.